And good morning to you. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair today for Chris Ann, who, as you know, because you're alert cutting a slide, you've been listening for a while. You know that he was doing the Dan Mandis show this morning. So glad to step in and fill in once again. I am still your Farb. It just stands for friend and retired buddy now. I mean, I'm still your radio buddy, but I'm a retired radio buddy, so there are two R's. Friend and retired radio buddy.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It'll work. But we're glad that you're here with us this morning. Going to be talking about a lot of things. You know, maybe I'm a little weird in this regard, and well, I know I'm totally weird in this regard. But there's one thing that I love to do. I love to do it more than just about anything else. You know, that if you ask me, hey, what's a great afternoon entertainment for you? It's going to buy a car. Because you go in and you're going to buy a car and you're going to do some negotiating, right? I mean, you don't go in there and say, okay, how much do you want for that car? And then they say, here's the price, and you say, okay, here, I'll write the check out. No, you're going to negotiate over things like what is the true price of that car? What is the true price of my trade-in? And then what's the best financing I can get if I need financing? I mean, you look at, by the way, never allow, this is just a pro tip here, because I love to get in there and go toe-to-toe with these guys. Never allow them to mix up those numbers. There are three distinct things. Number one, when you're buying a car, this is the Wilson method. Find out what the best price on that car is. Don't talk about anything else. Don't talk about trade-in. Don't talk about money. Don't talk about it. Just find out what's the best price I can get on that car. All right? Then you drill down on what's the best price I can get for my trade-in. What is it? What is your estimated value? And then the third thing is, what kind of money am I eligible for given my credit records? And how does my credit? So I love doing that, but I never allow them to mix those three things up. Now, why am I talking about cars? Because I love to negotiate, and I love to walk out of there with a deal that I feel like I don't know if I got the better of them, but I certainly am better off than when we started, and I think I did a pretty good negotiation there, and I got a good price on this car, and I got a good amount for my trade-in, and I got a low interest rate. That's all I'm looking for, right? That's the way Donald Trump approaches everything. He absolutely goes in there with the idea that I'm going to negotiate this deal. And so when you negotiate, you start low. For example, if I'm buying a car, I give them a ridiculously low number I know they're not going to accept. And there'll be all the wailing and the gnashing of teeth and, the running back and forth to the sales manager. I don't know. I'll take it to him, but I don't know. I wouldn't get my hopes up. But you eventually get to a point where both of you are happy. All right. Well, I think Donald Trump lays down these outrageous markers to begin a negotiation where there is no negotiation already gone. So let's just look at some of the things that he's used this on. He comes in and he's talking about Greenland. We need to buy Greenland, or we need to occupy Greenland. Well, that's a pretty outrageous statement coming out of thin blue air. Why all of a sudden this interest in Greenland? Well, he is right. It is a national security interest of the United States that Greenland have the right kind of defenses. It is. It absolutely is. Do we honestly think that we're going to invade Greenland? No, I don't think so. But what has happened as an end result of his even suggesting that the United States wants to buy Greenland, Denmark, which controls Greenland, has already put up a bunch of money and said they're going to up their security of that island, the island of Greenland. And I go, well, isn't that sort of what he really wanted, to secure up Greenland? He wanted more security for Greenland? Right. Says the same thing to Canada. Hey, Canada, if you don't get straightened out on the border stuff, they're going to be tariffs. We're going to put a tariff on you. You know what? That lasted about 3-4 hours. The Mexicans, came back and said, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. It was a negotiating tactic. Was he ever serious about tariffs? Maybe. but it was a tactic. Same thing when he negotiated with Mexico, Mexico, Canada, and now China. He's doing all of the same negotiation. He'll get something out of that by starting with this outrageous thing that nobody saw coming. I don't think anybody saw Greenland and Panama, for example, on their bingo card. Panama, what's happening in Panama? Well, he's already had the Secretary of State down there. They're working things out. He has their complete and uninterrupted attention, just like we have the complete and uninterrupted and undivided attention of the Mexicans and the Canadians and the Denmarkians, whatever you call them, and the people in Greenland. All by just laying down a thing. So yesterday when he said he wants to take over Gaza, well, here it is.
We should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job. Do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
Well, he makes a pretty strong point that, if you keep rebuilding it and then just going in there and having to destroy it again, does that make any sense? No, it doesn't really make any sense. But nothing in the Middle East has ever made much sense to me. But what he says there is that we're gonna occupy it. We're gonna own it. We're gonna fix it up. Or basically, you said maybe we can come up with the other countries will step up and take in the 1.8 million refugees. We turn that land into something that has value, but we move the Palestinians that are in Gaza to another location. That seems to be what he really wants to happen here. And to me, so when he talks about, are we going to put boots on the ground? I don't know. I mean, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if a man who said time and time again he doesn't want foreign entanglements, but he believes in development. And so is he asking some of the other players in the region, Qatar, Egypt, people who've got a lot of money, there's a lot of money in that region, to come forward, United Arab Emirates, to do things that would sort of shore up this area and make it strong? I don't know what his ultimate goal is, but I don't think it's to truly occupy Gaza. I'd love to open up the phone lines right now at 615-737-9986, because I'd really love to know what you think the end game here is. Is it really that he wants to occupy and rebuild Gaza? Or does he have an ulterior motive? Some of these other things where he's laid out these positions that we thought were pretty out there positions, well, it's really worked. What do you think his goal is here? 615-737-9986. Love to hear from you this morning. Phone lines are open, and we'll love to take your call. So there you have it. I mean, a big situation with Trump trying to make changes, and I think this is all. I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you think he's serious about it. Maybe we should occupy it. I'd love to know your thoughts. 615-737-9986. But my sense of it is that he has another goal in mind, and we'll see exactly what that is in the due passage of time. In the meantime, I just got to say, way to go. Greenland, we got their attention. Denmark got their attention. Panama, we have their complete and undivided attention. Canada, that got resolved in a day. That wasn't all that hard to resolve. And Mexico, again, resolved in a matter of hours. It was resolved. So, I have a feeling he's laying out a position here, but I'm trying to figure out, and maybe you can give me some guidance here. Where is he ultimately want to end up? Brian in Clarksville, you're on the line with Brian on the drive. What's your thought about this, Brian?
Hey, Brian, thanks for taking the call. I just think ultimately he's a genius businessman that puts up with a lot of crap. Of course, there's a lot of criticism about how he runs businesses, how he treats workers, filing bankruptcy, using the law to protect his businesses, all that. But ultimately, I think he really wants what you hear him say. I don't think it's like Biden, who would lie to you to your face. I think he really wants peace in the region. I'm a Christian. Believe what the Bible says. I believe one will always serve the other. And by that, I mean, I feel like the Arabs will serve the Jews. I don't know if that's biblically correct 100%. It's my interpretation. But I think he ultimately wants to stop all the brutal killing. He wants to help.
Oh, and boy, we got disconnected there. Okay, let's try Faith in Woodbury. Hello, Faith. You're up with Brian on the drive. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened.
That's okay. How are you?
I'm all right. What's your thought, Faith?
My thoughts are, I don't think he means own. He sometimes says some things flippantly. I don't think he means own. I'm not sure if that's the right term. He's got develop, lease, create growth, and then maybe turn it over. But I think his ultimate goal is for us to have another foothold, like Greenland, Panama, and things like that, for our military, for protection, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you say own, and that is a word that it might have a word. I mean, when we say own, there's a lot of different interpretations of what that might mean. I think you've settled on an interesting word there. I mean, when you say own, like I own my house, I own my car. Okay, that's one thing. But say we're going to own the situation. That's a little different,
Yes,
don't you think?
exactly.
Yeah, I think that,
I do. I don't religiously, and as far as owning, I don't know that he actually can own Gaza. But you have to keep in mind, Bibi and him have been longtime friends, longtime business people. So I think there's a lot of trust there. Whereas if another country came into Bibi and said, we want to own this, that would be a whole different situation. But with his relationship with Israel and the good things he's done and the business and all that and friendship, I think it means a whole different thing. I think when he said own, like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean own. It means develop, growth. And later on, the question came up from a reporter, and he said, it kind of clarified it a little bit if you go back into the questions that were asked.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he means boots on the ground, but it is interesting, and it is an interesting way of doing business. And so far, I have to say, a lot of success in doing those negotiations.
It
All right.
shocked me yesterday when I heard that.
Yeah. Okay. It's listen. It's 20 minutes past the hour. Phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. What is Trump up to here, and how do you rate the first few days of his administration? I tell you what, I look at it as being highly effective. Your thoughts as well coming up after the break. 20 minutes past the hour. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Up ahead here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Controversial proposal from one Tennessee legislator could limit which kids are allowed in schools. Also, you wouldn't believe what thieves have decided to steal in Pennsylvania. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's Mason Fleming, Joan Jones, and Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand today. And we're talking about Trump's press conference yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, where he said he wants to take over the Gaza Strip and rebuild it. Level the site, get rid of all the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people in the area. Do a real job, do something different. Well, I think that's interesting. And by the way, Netanyahu seemed to be sort of on board with this idea. President Trump is taking it to a much higher level. He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus for so much terrorism, so many attacks against us, so many other trials and tribulations. He has a different idea, and I think it's worth paying attention to all of this. What do you think's going on? 615-737-9986. What's his end game here? That's what we're trying to get at. Bruce in Cross Plains. Hey, you're on with Brian on the drive, filling in for the Chris Hand on the Chris Hand Show.
Hey, good morning, Brian. I think that's a terrible idea. It's just another one of Trump's great big I'm going to do something that'll make me a big splash. The best thing he could do is help Israel get back that land. It belongs to them. If you go back and see what the Bible says about it, that belongs to them. I'd be in favor of that, but I would not be in favor of him taking a bunch of assets, a bunch of money from the U.S. and going up over there and building that up, unless it was going to have a big return.
Well, I mean, think about this though. You know, when one of the things that happens after the war is when there's a war, there's a rebuilding effort, and if there's money to be made there, why not have American companies make that money?
Well, I would be in favor of American companies, but I would not be in favor of the American government going in there, because those people are going to be at war until the Lord comes back. That's just read the Bible.
All right, Bruce, thank you for that. Let me get a couple more calls in here. I really appreciate it, Bruce. Thanks a lot. All Rick and Franklin, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Rick? What's your thought?
Hey, Brian. It's good to hear your voice again. Listen, for the religious aspect, we really shouldn't be supporting Israel based on religious beliefs. We should be supporting Israel based on the fact that they're the only functioning democracy that's ever existed in the Middle East. As far as what Trump's done, he's angling for something else. I think he's angling for the Palestinian people to out themselves as being unacceptable in civil society. They've, for the last, 3 generations, they've taught all of their children, all of the generations, to the tune of about 97%, that nothing short of the demise of Israel is going to be satisfying to them. With that being their attitude, I don't think they're going to receive this very well, and he's going to make a very public spectacle of them saying, no, thank you. We don't want anything but the death of Israel. And at that point, then they'll probably get Jordan, Egypt, and the Arab countries on board and send the Palestinians there.
All right, Rick, thank you so much. I got time to squeeze in one more. Let's go to John up in Kentucky. Hey, John, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, John?
Thank you, Brian. I got a suggestion for Donald Trump. If he wants to rebuild Gaza, rather than push all that rubble out into the ocean and pollute the ocean, they need to build 2 recycling plants, 1 concrete recycling plant, 1 steel recycling plant. Yep. Recycle all that crap, and then they have all the building material they need.
I was thinking about that as well, and you're right. The easy way to do this would be to just get the bulldozers and scrape it right into the ocean.
Exactly, pollute the ocean.
Yeah. I think you were probably right. They've got what they need in raw materials. They just need to regurgitate
all the blocks they need.
That's right. All right. Thank you so much for that. All right, well, we'll continue to watch whatever Trump does. Says he wants to take over Gaza and develop it. What does he really want? What does he really mean? One thing that I'll tell you is it doesn't generally take very long for us to get the lay of the land. He says there's got to be tariffs, and the next thing you know, Mexico and Canada are towing the line. So it didn't take very long for that. Maybe it won't take very long to find out what the end game is here as well. 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for Joan Jones and the news.
Good morning. It's 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. We've got 50 degrees, overcast skies now, and we could get some rain, maybe some storms around here later. The got a heads up for you on what could be that stormy afternoon. Our friend Stefano DiPietro tells us over at Channel 4.
A couple of strong thunderstorms develop later on today with heavier rainfall, gusty wind, and I still totally can't say no to an isolated tornado that is an extremely low-end threat. Really not that big of a concern, but of course it's something we won't ignore.
And we've got our eye on that forecast all throughout the day. Keep it here on WTN for the latest. Well, a new bill filed in the Tennessee General Assembly would allow schools to opt out of enrolling undocumented students. House Leader William Lamberth sponsoring the bill. It comes after the Rutherford County School Board passed a resolution urging Tennessee leaders to expedite the closure of the nation's borders. The board saying with so many ESL students in the school, there is exceptional financial pressure on the school systems. Eggs have now become so expensive that they're being valued by thieves.
Pennsylvania State Police, they responded to Pete and Jerry's Organics in Greencastle, southwest of Harrisburg, which reported 100,000 eggs stolen from the back of a distribution trailer over the weekend. Estimated value $40,000. The egg company works with 200 independent family-owned farms across the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and New England. No word from police on how such a large theft could have occurred unnoticed, or if the case will be over easy or hard.
Okay. ABC's Chuck Sievertson there. We've got word this morning that the trade deficit surged in December, finishing 2024 with the second largest gap ever. MarketWatch reports it's likely that companies and consumers were trying to get ahead of President Trump's tariffs. In the early on here in the trading day, we've got the Dow Jones Industrials minus 33. The Nasdaq is falling 123, and the S&P 500 index, that's down 17 points. That's the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 37 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand. And before I go down the path of the next thing I want to talk about, I just have to call in to Joan Jones.
Oh,
Joan,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
heard in the news business, you have a little thing called a kicker. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a kicker is a sort of a cute little fun story that you run at the end of your newscast to end on a lighter note, right?
Right, exactly.
And you had a great one about, but I look at kicker stories for their ability to, for me to play with puns.
Oh, I see.
And I'm very disappointed because there were a lot of puns there.
Yeah.
And you just walked away. You didn't take advantage of the puns.
Well, the reporter delivered the pun.
Yeah, the reporter did some pun work. There's no doubt there.
Yeah. He said this was the story about the eggs being stolen, a tractor trailer full of eggs worth about $40,000. And he said
$40,000 worth of eggs.
Well, the price of eggs is up.
Yeah. This is no yoke.
Oh, yeah. It's not what it's cracked up to be, clearly, but see, I can play along with the best of them.
Don't egg her on.
Yeah. So the reporter said it's not clear if this case will be over easy or over hard.
Right.
Or something like that.
What the cluck? I don't know what to think. Okay.
We can go on from here. Yes.
Yeah, I know, but we need to move on. But I mean, eggs. How can you go wrong? So many puns.
Oh, yeah.
So many puns.
We're accepting puns on the super text line, even as we speak.
It's like that. I'm sure they'll be coming in.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the other things that Trump has done. I mean, right now, I think we're really looking pretty good on these confirmations. Coming a little slower than I would have expected. Pam Bondi confirmed as the U.S. Attorney General. Former Attorney General of Florida, Pam Bondi will have a really important role within the Trump administration in trying to make sure that the DOJ is free of politicization, and so she's in. I didn't think she would have too much trouble. Tulsi Gabbard, who I thought was probably the heaviest lift for them, she's to be the director of national intelligence. She got a positive vote coming out of the Intelligence Committee, which then puts it on the floor with a positive recommendation. And some of the people who've been the folks you got to watch on such things like this, who have had some concerns about Tulsi Gabbard. The one that caught my attention was Susan Collins of Maine, who now says that she's okay with Tulsi Gabbard as director of national intelligence. So that looks like you're going to see that happen. That was, I think, the most difficult one. Trump Health Secretary nominee RFK Jr. has cleared the Senate Finance Committee with a confirmation vote that is positive, and so he will go to the floor with a positive recommendation. And I think it could be a party line vote, but I think by and large, he will be confirmed as the Secretary of HHS. And then you got all kinds of other things that are going on with this administration that are just, I mean, it is a shock and awe. It's every day there's a major development. I think today's developments may have to do with education. If Trump comes to and signs some more executive orders today, I think they'll largely have to do with education and the thought basically that they would like to do away with the Department of Education. And there are all kinds of stories out there that they are considering a plan to dismantle the Department of Education and just have the money go straight to the states in the form of block grants. I like this idea. I've never been a big fan of the Department of Education, but here's what I will say about the Department of Education. We're not getting the job done. We're simply not able to educate our kids in the way that we need to. It's not working. States have always known better how to do this job. I think it should go back to the states. The block grants go back to the states. Let the states decide. And so I would like to see that happen. The Department of Education, There's a lot of money that comes to states, but money that comes through the Department of Education is always tied to federal strings. There's all kind of strings attached to it. Yeah, we're Democrats and we're going to give you this money for your state, but you got to do this and you got to do that, or you're not eligible for the money. So I love the fact that Tennessee's instinct is to try to run the Department of Education in this state independent of whatever the education department does. I'm all in favor of it. We'll see what happens. Is that really what the plan is, or is there again a middle ground that Trump would find satisfactory? But if the education department were to be gone today, I don't know that we would really miss it in the grand scheme of things. Here's one. The CIA has been offered, people who work at the CIA have been offered sweeping buyouts, the entire workforce, as part of the effort to downsize government. The Central Intelligence Agency on Tuesday offered all employees buyouts that were previously extended to millions of federal workers, according to a report. This from the New York Post. The buyouts would provide CIA employees with about 8 months of pay and benefits in exchange for their resignations. Administration officials indicated the intelligence agency decided to offer the buyouts as part of an effort to bring the CIA more in line with President Trump's priorities, according to the Wall Street Journal. The same package has extended to more than 2 million civilian federal employees last month, but exempted workers with national security roles. Now they're saying maybe we need to start over at the CIA. I worry a little bit about losing institutional memory, but I also would look at some of the things that have happened in the intelligence community. How is it that we did not pick up, even if the Israelis, it was really their responsibility to pick it up, but did we not have an intelligence apparatus that gave us some heads up to what was happening on October 7th? So maybe we do need to clean that up in a big way. So CIA employees also being offered these payouts. Just the News has it right. This is all designed to drive the Democrats absolutely guano crazy. Trump's flooding the zone has the so-called resistance running in circles. It's a new term and a new Donald Trump, a host of executive orders, unconventional nominees, and sweeping agency reforms have the Washington, D.C. establishment in a panic. Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Through headlines, analysts repeatedly claim that the anti-Trump resistance is in disarray and that Democrats are struggling to form a coherent message against the administration. We're going to get into some of that. I mean, the Democrats are trying to go to the mat and defend the insane spending that has been taking place at the USAID. We'll talk about that in greater detail coming up in the next hour, I promise you. And they're going to the mat on this stuff. $50 million for condoms in Gaza, that kind of stuff through USAID. And he's really going after it. And this is driving the Democrats absolutely crazy. This is all about protecting their social programs, their efforts to change society from a social standpoint. It's all about that. That's what this is all about and why they are so upset about it. But they can't stand it. During the first Trump term, the so-called deep state mounted consistent opposition and managed to effectively obstruct his keynote project. Leakers inside the Department of Homeland Security often thwarted immigrations and custom enforcement raids. Pentagon officials opposed his foreign policy realignment, slow-walked his withdrawal orders, notably in Syria. He further saw an antagonistic media repeatedly twist his words and fixate on the Russian collusion narrative. In 2025, intransigent career officials continue to make their frustrations known, and the media remain as anti-Trump as ever. But it's a new term and a new Donald Trump, and a host of executive orders, unconventional nominees, sweeping agency reforms have the Washington, D.C. establishment in a panic and ultimately unable to do much of anything about it. I mean, by the time they can respond to whatever it is that Trump throws at them, he's on to a new thing. But it actually smokes out the Democrats and the libs in Washington as being very supportive of. I mean, is this the hill you want to die on? Honestly, condoms for Gaza, millions and billions of dollars going to for all of these DEI projects and LGBTQIA, EIAIO projects around the world. Is that really how we ought to be spending our taxpayer money? Is that what you're going to try to defend? If so, they haven't learned a thing. They haven't learned a thing about this last election. And they do seem to me, the way it feels to me is they're just flailing around. Well, if Trump is for it, we've got to be against it. They don't have a coherent message. They don't have a coherent leader. They're trying to fall back on the same old recipes, and they're just not working. And it's, when you look at now who's in charge of the Democrat National Committee, again, the libs are going to grab hold of the power reins and try to continue this. But at the end of the day, it's not going to resonate with the American people. It's simply not going to resonate. I don't think that many of the American people who look at this list of crazy stuff that USAID was spending money on, and I don't think that they're going to be in favor of that, and I don't think they're in favor of a lot of things that the Democrats are wailing and screaming and gnashing their teeth over. So it'll be interesting to see, but he is flooding the zone. There's no doubt about it. So much stuff going on, so much winning, and so far, I don't see any major failures. Some things haven't worked out quite the way he thought they would, but I mean, grand scheme of things, he's on a tear, and he's getting stuff done. And the executive orders keep on coming. Some of those may be challenged in a court of law. We'll see, but they keep coming. And it's just going to be overwhelming to them. But we're going to have, I think, within about 6 months, if everything goes well, we will have undone a lot of the damage from the previous administration. Things that they were proposing that just simply, I think we all know, have not worked, are not going to work. And we'll talk about a lot of that coming up in the next hour. Right now, it is 50 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock.
The rapid pace of actions from President Trump continues today. We'll tell you what he's targeting in a new executive order. Also, state lawmakers consider bills on unsecured weapons in cars and undocumented kids in schools. Those stories at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So I got to know, were there any more egg puns there or chicken puns?
There were so many.
Really?
They were excellent.
Come on, give me some of the better ones. I'm going to share with me.
Of course, I closed the super text line, but it was a lot of the excellence, scrambled brains. Let's see. I can't remember anymore. Now you're testing my strength of my brain.
Well, anyway, I'm glad. They say that puns are the lowest form of humor.
But they're so much fun.
But they're fun. I mean, aren't they
Yeah.
fun? I never get tired of a good pun.
I cracked up. Yeah.
All right.
Now I won't stop all day.
We'll move on.
Okay.
We'll move on. This is our number 2 coming up here in just a few moments of the Chris Hand Show with Brian Wilson filling in. I want to talk coming up in the next segment or so about this whole thing with regard to USAID. I mean, if this is the hill that you want to die on, it's really not much of a hill. But it really shows you just how desperate and off message the Democrats are. I mean, we've just had an election where we basically sent a message saying that we really did not like the direction of the last 4 years. We didn't feel like you accomplished anything, and we really do feel like it's time to come in and sort of reinvent, tear things up, trash them, start over, level the place, and rebuild. It's what he wants to do with regard to Gaza, and it's what he wants to do with USAID. Is all foreign aid bad? I don't think all of it is bad, but so much of it was transferred into these left-leaning DEI policies. I mean, you go through USAID. If you want to find quick money to save, most Americans don't want to spend $1 overseas, no matter what the situation. It's always been extremely unpopular. But now you're saying you have this agency that was out there doing all of these unbelievably liberal things, and using your taxpayer dollars to do it, and now it's going to be gone. And the Democrats are losing their ever-loving minds over this. They just can't believe that this is going on. How did something like this survive so long? You're going to hear in just a few moments from a U.S. senator who says that when she went to ask questions, she was basically told, we don't have to answer your questions. You know, the Senate, which is supposed to have oversight over the executive branch, the Congress is supposed to have that oversight. But when it came to the USAID, she was simply told to go pound sand. And we don't think there's anything you can do about it. Very, very, I mean, it's unbelievable that an agency could have that much clout that they would look at a U.S. senator and tell them that, go away. We don't really want to answer your questions. But that's exactly what has happened. And when you find out some of the things this money's been spent on, I think you're going to be pretty upset about it. So that's going to be our next hour. Also, we got some stuff with the border. And let me tell you, I attended a meeting of law enforcement officials from Wilson County yesterday and learned an awful lot about how they look at what's going on in Davidson County with regard to public safety. We'll talk about that coming up in the next hour as well. You're listening to the Chris Hand Show with Brian Wilson filling in on this Wednesday morning.
Well, hello there. It's 10 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A problem on 40, the westbound lanes at Hermitage Avenue right now. A crash that's blocking off the right shoulder. Be careful in that area. In the news, President Trump today expected to sign a new executive order. It's aimed at banning trans athletes in women's sports. ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott has the details obtained by ABC News.
Directs federal agencies, including the Department of Justice, to enforce it. And if universities do not comply, the White House warns they could not only lose federal funding, but also face legal action. The president is expected to sign this at an event later at the White House today. And they do expect some sporting organizations, including the NCAA, to follow suit.
And we do have some new information today about that factory shooting overnight in Ohio.
Bruce Reginald Foster III is an employee at the KDC-1 cosmetics facility and had been at work for several hours when the shooting happened. While the motive is unclear, New Albany Mayor Sloan Spalding says,
"This pattern is too common in our country, and we must do better. We must do more to support each other, to lend a hand to a friend or a colleague or a coworker who's clearly in need."
Police say the shooting was targeted, not random. They're still looking for Bruce Foster. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
New from the Tennessee General Assembly, a proposal that would make it a Class C misdemeanor for a gun owner to leave a firearm unsecured in their car. No charges if the gun is locked in the trunk, a glove box, or in a locked container. And legislators are also considering another law that would allow schools to deny undocumented children to be registered students. It comes after a plea from Rutherford County schools, from Rutherford schools, who said that the crush of ESL students is causing significant financial pain. Still looking for him, Metro Nashville police have yet to interview the shopper who was robbed of his packages at the mall at Green Hills yesterday. They've charged a convicted felon, Omari Moore, with the robbery that left shoppers shocked.
It's unbelievable that something could happen like that. I mean, a visit to the mall and you get robbed and then something deadly happening. It's crazy.
Yeah, Moore's getaway car crashed on I-65. Police said that the driver was shot and later died. Moore was captured and charged with the robbery, but so far he has not been charged with shooting the driver. Charges have now been filed against a 50-year-old man after a 5-year-old girl and her stepfather were killed in a crash in Murfreesboro last week. That crash happening on Middle Tennessee Boulevard last Monday. The girl's mother was hospitalized with serious injuries. A look at stocks at this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial's on the plus side, up by 13 points now. But the NASDAQ is down 86, and the S&P 500 index is minus 11. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
That's right. Chris Hand is off today. He came in early for Dan Mandis, who is apparently now, I guess he's having his second eye surgery. Looked like a pirate there for a couple of days. He'll look for a pilot like a pirate on his other eye now.
He's just testing out which eye he wants to get removed.
You know, to tell you the truth, there's probably nobody that you know that has more experience with eye surgeries than me. I've had, I think, 8 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I really went through some problems. I mean, for one reason or another, in my family, apparently cataracts come very early.
Interesting.
And so I had cataracts in my late 40s, which is, you know, never heard of.
Yeah.
And so I had to go and have them done, but I'd already had the LASIK. And at that time, so I wasn't wearing any glasses, but my vision was deteriorating. So after I had the LASIK, I got cataracts. Then we had to take out the cataracts, and then we had to take out another round of surgeries because they say there's a flap that they used to leave on the eye that they don't leave on the eye, and it sometimes will go opaque. So I had to go through a whole nother round of surgeries for that. But the bottom line is now, I mean, I don't even really need my glasses for anything except reading up close. But the rest of it, you know, I don't need glasses for. But it is an interesting experience, and I'll never forget, you know, the coming back. You know, did they do both of my eyes at the same time? I want to say yes, they did both my eyes at the same time, which is usually not what they want to do, but had a tremendous outcome. And I remember looking up at a clock across the room and being able to see it clearly, and it was like shocking.
That's cool.
And the thing that was most amazing to me were trees. Over the years, trees had just become sort of these fuzzy green things.
Just a big blob on a stick.
Yeah, a big blob on a stick. That's right. And, you know, and I thought I hadn't even noticed it. But when all of a sudden I can see why there are individual leaves on that tree. You know, it was really interesting to see the thing. So I know it's an experience that Dan's going through. But he was in this morning for Dan, and I'm in for him today. Want to talk a little bit about USAID. The USAID people. This is how the Democrats send a lot of crazy, stupid liberal money when they're in charge to places around the world through what they call NGOs, non-government operators, and organizations, and what has happened is Elon Musk has found this as a treasure trove of some of the stupidest things that the Democrats have ever tried to sponsor. Here is Representative LaMonica McIver of New Jersey just losing it over what Elon Musk is doing to USAID and other places where government is wasting our federal tax dollars.
I came here with one simple message, just like you all. We will not take this from Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We want you to know, as mentioned, we came here for an oversight visit in this building behind us, and they told us that we had to have an appointment for an oversight visit. So let's let them know loud and clear to let us in. Let us in! Let us in! Let us in! Let us in! Donald Trump! Donald Trump thinks that he is a dictator, but we are going to prove him wrong. I came here to Congress in September, and I want Donald Trump to know that this Jersey girl means business. We will not stand for this. We will fight back. The people always had the power.
Yep.
And I tell folks, we've been talking about it all day today. Someone told us that Republicans had their phones off the hook so they wouldn't take your calls about what's going on here. Boom to that. And I tell you that when we leave here, we need to organize and mobilize and tell people to call every elected official of Congress and let them know, especially the Republicans, that we will not take this. We will fight back. Fight back. Fight back. And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and damn it, shut down the Senate.
Shut down the Senate, yeah.
War in million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury of the United States of America. We are at war. Thank you.
So this is the hill they want to die on. They want to defend USAID. Well, that's what they're doing today. Marco Rubio, new Secretary of State, has already been down to Panama. We'll talk about Panama a little bit later, but he said yesterday that he is effectively the acting director of USAID at the moment.
It is an entity that spends taxpayer dollars, and it needs to spend it, as the statute says, in alignment with the policy directives that they get from the Secretary of State, the National Security Council, and the President. And it's been 20 or 30 years where people have tried to reform it, and it refuses to reform. It refuses to cooperate. When we were in Congress, we couldn't even get answers to basic questions about programs. That will not continue. That's not going to continue.
Elon Musk is public affairs organization. Do you believe that?
I've articulated to you my challenges with it, and they go back to my time in Congress. Okay, we would ask them questions. Who does this program fund? Who gets the money? We won't tell you. We don't need to tell you. We're apolitical. Well, American foreign policy isn't apolitical. American foreign policy is to further the interest of the United States. If someone wants to spend apolitical dollars, they should spend private dollars, go start a charity, and you can fund anyone you want. But if you're going to spend taxpayer money, then you need to spend it in furtherance of the national interest of the United States. That's exactly what I said at my confirmation hearing. And this is not my frustration. This frustration has existed now for almost a quarter century, and multiple administrations that have gone through this challenge. It's going to stop and it's going to end.
It's going to end. Joni Ernst, senator from Iowa, Republican senator from Iowa, said that she has actually been threatened by people who receive money from USAID.
Yes. And this began years ago when we were trying to figure out what they were doing with our American taxpayer dollars that were going to support humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. So I wanted to know exactly how those dollars were being spent. And not just
a reasonable request.
Yes.
That's
oh my
Elon
gosh.
Musk there.
And I shared this with you earlier, Elon, just privately, but we got all kinds of threats from USAID because I was trying to exercise my oversight capacity in Congress. So they.
I mean, that's just shocking. I mean, it's how. I mean, honestly, it's outrageous that a taxpayer-funded organization would threaten a U.S. senator who is simply trying to figure out if American taxpayer money is being spent correctly and not fraudulently.
Yes.
Wow. A United States senator should be able to get the answers, but they weren't willing to give. They had become so haughty, so sure of themselves, so protected that they didn't have to answer questions, and the money was going to incredibly wasteful things. Pundit Kaylee McGee White says, "Look, if this is if this is the hill you want to die on, knock yourself out."
Well, and if it's such a small amount of the federal budget, why is it such a big deal that Trump wants to cut those programs? Again, the logic here doesn't make sense. And, I invite Democrats in the leftist media to die on this hill because USAID is such a perfect example of leftism run wild in our federal government. And the more attention they raise to the issue, the more that Americans are going to start to see their priorities for what they are. There is no justifiable defense for these left-wing priorities that USAID has been funding for years. And so I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves. They're just not going to find much public support from the American people on this.
Well, that's exactly right. No public support. So why in the world? Look, one of the things they always tell you is when your opponents are destroying or they're struggling, to let them alone. Just don't say anything. But it's pretty shocking to me that Democrats have not picked up on the real message of the last election. Look, here's what I want to say. We can effect tremendous change. Think about how the stars have aligned here. Big picture, sort of pull back a little bit. A Republican who's not afraid to think outside the box has won election to the presidency. He has at his side probably the Henry Ford the Edison of our generation, Elon Musk, who also thinks outside the box, to change all of these things. And that, everybody knew Elon was going to be involved. Everybody knew this was the thing that they were going to try to do. They made no bones about it, and they got the overwhelming support of the American people. Donald Trump did when he decided to do this. And Democrats, rather than take that message and say, well, apparently people weren't too enamored with what we were bringing to the table, because Democrats had, they were doing things left and right during the Biden years. Nobody could stop them. But we've got a president who's a Republican, a conservative, thinks outside the box, Elon Musk by his side, and I like the fact that Elon Musk is there, one of the great minds of our generation, trying to help us understand, and help us go through this morass. It would take somebody of his intellectual heft to try to crack this nut, because a lot of people have tried and a lot of people have failed. But you also have the Republicans in charge of the Senate and the Republicans in charge of the House. The Republicans control the Supreme Court with a 6-3 conservative majority, which could change even to 7-2 during Trump's administration. It's entirely possible. Not wishing harm on anyone, but I mean, just look at the actuarial tables, look at the ages of some of our Supreme Court justices, and you will see that likely he will get a chance to replace at least one, maybe more. Could change that. So we've got the White House, the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court firmly in control of the conservatives. And on top of all that, on the state level, more than half of the governors in this country are now Republicans. So look, if we don't get it done, it's only our own fault. It will be because we were not united. We were not focused. And so far, I'll have to say, even though there have been people who have some concerns on the Republican side of the equation with some of these nominations, we've been able to squeak them all out. We've been able to get them through. We've been able to start doing the work that we told the American people we were going to do. And that I'm telling you, that is going to resonate with America. The one thing Americans hate about government is people who make promises that they don't keep. Whether or not you like Donald Trump, you have to say he's keeping his promises. He told us we were going to be doing these things, and he's doing them. And I mean, it's a remarkable thing. This is going to resonate in a tremendous way with the American people. Look, I think we do have some struggles ahead. I mean, we may well see prices go up in the short term while we're trying to work out embargoes and that kind of stuff. Could happen. Can we solve all of the problems with things like eggs? Eggs has to do a lot with the bird flu and some other stuff. But I mean, that's why eggs are so high. But can we make some changes there? Yeah, I think in time you'll see those changes made, and I think prices will come down. The question is, can you get through that little rough spot and have people continue to support you? And I want to tell you right now, yeah, a few things could cost a little more. You saw Chuck Schumer out there with his Corona Light and his avocados, talking about how expensive it was going to be. That got resolved in real short order, didn't it? There's an old saying, as long as we're talking about eggs, there's an old saying is you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. And, we all want omelets out of this. So, yeah, this is great. I love the fact that they are taking on like these things today. I think yesterday was USAID. Democrats lost their mind. I think today is likely to be education. The Democrats will lose their mind. But at the end of the day, I think this is resonating with the American people in a huge way. You hire somebody, they tell you what they're going to do, and then they actually do it. I think people are stunned, shocked, and amazed, and completely marveling at what has happened, because we don't usually see that. What a concept. Do what you say you're going to do. 20 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
President Trump has his executive order pen out again today. We'll tell you what he's signing and where you can expect to find protesters today as they have their say over the president's actions since he has been in office. That's coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
News at the bottom of the hour. I'm Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Hand today and talking over the hip-hop beats. That's what I apparently am. How am I doing, Mason, with these hip-hop beats?
I think they match well. I think they look good on you.
All right, good. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the southern border and what's going on with regard to making sure that we get the immigration thing under control. I got some sound here from the the governor of New Jersey. Have you heard this? His name is Phil Murphy. He is admitting that, well, I'll just let you hear it. He's actually admitting that he is harboring an illegal alien in his home.
Tammy and I were talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage.
Hold it. Somebody in our universe whose immigration status has not been completed. So I'm just going to let them live above our garage. Does this sound like a housekeeper, like a babysitter, something like that? Is that what, I mean, is that what it sounds like to you? It's what it sounds like to me.
And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Yeah, I'm gonna put her in the little room above my garage, and she's gonna live there. And good luck, feds, coming to get her. That's like, for Tom Homan, that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. I mean, I think bulls are technically colorblind, are they? I don't know. But one way or the other, I mean, it's not the right thing to say to Tom Homan, the president's border czar.
Well, I think the governor's pretty foolish saying what he said, because I got note of it, won't let it go, we'll look into it. And if he's knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, That's a violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324. I would seek prosecution, or the Secretary would seek prosecution. So maybe he's bluffing. If he's not, we'll deal with that. And as far as suing sanctuary cities, well, get in line, because the Trump administration is going to do that already. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Sanctuary cities are responsible for deaths of thousands.
That's right. And you know, I'm happy to make that case. If the Democrats don't want to get these dangerous illegal immigrants out of our country and go along with the plan, and by the way, the law of the land, if you don't like the law, it's pretty easy. Just change it. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. Nobody's gonna touch that. So this is the law. The law is going to be enforced, and get over it. He also, Homan told the Boston mayor, Michelle Wu, to get the hell out of the way after she vowed not to cooperate with Trump's deportations. But, I mean, are they going to run a raid on Governor Murphy's house? Is he going to have New Jersey troopers stand in the way and prevent that from happening? Come on. Come on. It's pretty hard to believe. And, and we talk about all this, and I got to tell you, it's happening in our own backyard as well. It really is. Listen to this. Teens who drove through Franklin, Tennessee gun store and attempted robbery, reportedly illegal immigrants now set for deportation. This is from the Tennessee Star. A source familiar with the investigation tells the Tennessee Star that the 5 teenage suspects arrested in connection to a January 20th attempted break-in at a gun and ammunition store in Franklin are Honduran nationals who were in the United States illegally at the time of their arrest, and that they are scheduled to be deported by federal immigration authorities. WSMV, Channel 4, say the suspects range in age from 13 to 15. Wow. Apprehended after a pursuit that involved multiple law enforcement agencies. They allegedly drove a vehicle into the gun store, with the outlet publishing security camera footage from the gun store that showed multiple suspects approaching the storefront, only to learn they were unsuccessful at ramming the door before leaving after apparently discovering their attempt was unsuccessful. They tried. But it's happening right here in our own backyard. We have a story. I got a story here about fentanyl coming in to our schools. Yeah, here it is. Fentanyl seized during stolen truck investigation in South Nashville. Where do you think that fentanyl came from? It came from across the border. It came from across the border. Here's another story about Middle Tennessee. Might have something to do with all of this. Middle Tennessee schools closed to widespread illness. Is your school on the list? Now, this might have nothing to do, but it could also have something very much to do with people who've come into this country bringing diseases that are unvaccinated. Brought to this country, in our schools, we have to educate the kids when they show up. And I have a feeling that we have a lot more illness in schools, perhaps, as a result of that. But we'll see. So, again, getting it done, living up to the promises that they made. And it'll be interesting to see if they actually go knocking on the garage door of the governor of Pennsylvania. What an interesting thing that would be. Time for the news now at 30 minutes past the hour.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Some of President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet nominees are gearing up to face lawmakers on Capitol Hill this week.
14 nominees are scheduled for Senate confirmation hearings this week, including former Fox News host Pete Hegseth, who's nominated for Secretary of Defense. Hegseth spent several days on Capitol Hill last month working to drum up support.
What they want to do to make sure that department is properly oriented for the threats of the world and make sure that we're putting the warfighters first.
Also getting hearings this week, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, Trump's Homeland Security Secretary pick, and his pick for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
That's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio reporting. Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation hearings for Director of National Intelligence, they're being delayed until next week. There is a paperwork issue with the Office of Government Ethics that's to blame for holding up the process. Tennessee's lawmakers get down to business starting tomorrow. The state's 114th General Assembly begins. Lawmakers have already pre-filed some of the bills that would be taken up this year, including school vouchers, that program backed by Governor Bill Lee. Walmart is recalling its great value family-sized chicken broth that was sold in southern states, including Tennessee, at the end of 2024. These are 48-ounce cartons with a shelf life lasting until March 2026. Now, the FDA said those containers had packaging problems that could lead to broth spoiling. There have been no reports of illnesses, though. Walmart said customers can ask for a full refund, but they want customers to throw the product out. An unusual end to an arrest in Mount Juliet over the weekend. Here's Channel 4's Lydia Fielder.
Now, Juliet police say license plate readers alerted officers to a car that was linked to a man wanted for failure to appear on drug charges. So police pulled that man over, the 34-year-old from Smyrna. They arrested him as he was delivering a pizza.
Now, the officers didn't want to leave the pizza customers hanging, so after they arrested the driver, they delivered the pizza, taking photos that they posted online afterward. And the Nashville area is set to get its third Raising Cane's location. This one will open tomorrow on Bakers Bridge Avenue in Franklin. There are plenty of incentives, too, to go on out tomorrow and celebrate. There are activities and giveaways, too. There are 2 other Raising Cane's in Nashville. That's the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 37 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Yes, I am. I'm not Chris Ann. Not near as good looking as that guy. I'm Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Ann, who filled in for Dan Mandis today. He's off having his eyeballs surgically altered. And he'll be back, I guess, tomorrow.
Now, are they going to have to remove said eyeball and then replace it, Brother Brian, or have you heard?
I don't think it's a replacement. I think it's a minor adjustment. I think it's but I got to tell you, Dan Mandis with an eye patch.
Yeah.
That's a look, man.
That's Snake Mandis.
Yeah. Somebody brought him. I was at an event. I think it was one of our big remote that we did during the election, and somebody brought Dan Mandis a cowboy hat.
Yes.
And he looked good in it.
He didn't look bad at all.
And so I was thinking Dan Mandis and the cowboy hat and the eye patch. I mean, that'd be something.
Yes, it would.
I'm telling you, though, it's remarkable when you go through those eye surgeries, folks who know what they're doing.
Oh, yes.
It is remarkable, and I've been through it, so I know. I guess I was getting to the point where I was legally blind there for a while. I couldn't see anything.
Wow.
Because I had cataracts.
Yeah, yes.
At a very young age, I had cataracts. And so I know what it's like when you come out of that surgery and you look across the room and you go, holy moly, look, I can see things that I didn't know were there. You know what it was for me? Reading road signs at night. That was the thing.
Yep.
I actually got to the point, it was so bad that I would carry a flashlight with me so I could stop and illuminate the road signs, like the street signs,
right.
So I'd know where I was. This is, before we were doing all the stuff with GPS and whatever.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway. So I'm happy to be in here under these circumstances. Chris will be back in his right place tomorrow. Dan will be, as far as I know, back in his right place tomorrow as well. I went yesterday to a thing because I have time on my hands now.
Yeah.
And so, I want to know things. And I went to a Wilson County public safety seminar put on by Mayor Hutto. And you had the law enforcement officials, the police chief from Lebanon, the police chief from Mount Juliet, the sheriff of Wilson County, and the police chief of bucolic Watertown. All were there. And so I went there, and one of the things that I found was is how big Mount Juliet and Lebanon and Wilson County are with regard to LPRs. Now, I understand that in some circles LPRs are very controversial. I'm not one of those people who has a problem with LPRs. I don't. If they are used the way that they are supposed to be used, and the safeguards are there so that you're not abusing the system, it really is a law enforcement effort to try to find people who already have criminal actions leveled against them, arrest warrants, etc., stolen cars, etc. I'm all in favor of that. And what I found out was that apparently they now say that Wilson County, most of what we're picking up in our LPRs now are folks who come into Wilson County from Davidson County, where they have reluctantly decided not to put up LPRs as of yet. LPR is a tool to prevent crime, and I wish Davidson County Metro would understand that what they aren't doing is directly affecting Wilson County, said Robert Bryan, sheriff for Wilson County. Davidson County does not currently have an LPR program in place, and because of this, Sheriff Robert Bryan in the Wilson County Jail is filling up with criminals from Davidson County. If the crime is not domestic related or in the home, then 95% of them are from elsewhere, said Tyler Chandler, deputy chief for Mount Juliet Police. Mount Juliet, of course, was very big on installing LPRs early on, some 4 years ago, and now they are looking to expand their drone technology to fight crime. Okay, so let me tell you, this is the one that just caught me. I went, Ken, you'll love this. When I heard this, I went, wow, now that's something. So we think of drones in police use as something that they bring out when there's a missing person, or you got a criminal that's on the run and he's in the woods and you bring out the drone, right? Police helicopters will be used if they are available, but some jurisdictions can't afford police helicopters. So, that's all good and fine. You bring out the drone, and it's been very helpful in finding lost people and finding criminals who've run off into the woods, etc. Very good technology. But that's not what they're going to be using it for in the future. Are you ready for this? This is mind-blowing. They're going to basically, in the future, the plan is for many of these police departments who can't afford to have a helicopter, but can't afford to have a $15,000 or $20,000 drone, they'll be mounted at the top of police headquarters and launched anytime they've got a major call. In other words, the drone can be there long before the police cars can be there. And so Wilson County, their plan is basically in some of these places like Mount Juliet and Lebanon, they're going to have a drone that will be launched from headquarters and can be on the scene in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, anywhere. Straight line of sight, nobody in their way, don't have to stop, don't have to worry about traffic. You get there quickly. You've got eyes on the scene. How do you feel about that? I mean, there's a part of me that says, wow, that means we're going to be seeing drones a lot, and I think we will be. I think there'll come a time in the near future where we'll look up into the sky, and we won't even blink when we see a drone, because they're going to be so prevalent. But the police are planning on using them, and I thought this was fascinating, as first response vehicles during big breaking, if there's a big crash, big fire, they'll just launch the drone first, so that when the arriving units are coming on the scene, the drone could tell them, maybe they'll even be able to see the picture of the drone, to see what the drone is seeing. One way or the other, it will be all run from the headquarters. I think that's fascinating. That's where we're headed with some of this stuff, LPRs. But it was interesting to find out that in Davidson County, they don't have LPRs, and all of the problems that Wilson County is picking up is along that border with Davidson County. People come into Wilson County perhaps not aware that they have license plate readers, and they get tagged, and they get stopped, and they get arrested, and it's a big problem. Wilson County, and I'm sure other counties that surround Davidson County, are having problems right now because Davidson County doesn't want to do what others are doing, which is implement these LPRs. And the city council needs to get off its butt and do that. They tested them. They worked great. The police want them. This is a technology that will help them fight crime. The number one goal of any government ought to be, first of all, public safety. Any government entity needs to make sure that you're keeping people safe, and these things can keep dangerous people off the streets. They're doing so in Davidson County. They're doing so in other counties in our area. What's going on with Davidson County? Why can't they get over this? There is no expectation of privacy on a public street. And I don't have a problem with having a technology out there that takes dangerous people who've committed crimes off the street and puts them into the adjudicatory process. I'm all in favor of that. Let's get that done. Of course, that means you got to prosecute these people. From Fox 17, did you hear this? A prolific Nashville shoplifting suspect charged for stealing over $50,000 in merchandise. Metro Police arrested someone named Melissa Mays, age 25, caught in the act of shoplifting at a drugstore on Gallatin Avenue Monday night. Now charged with stealing $200 in merchandise from a Walgreens, $5,000 worth of $5,400 worth of merchandise from Lens Crafters, $8,600 from the Sunclass Hut, $5,400 in merchandise again from Lens Crafters, $1,800 from Ulta and Bellevue, $886 in merchandise from Lululemon, stealing $687 in merchandise from Marshall's West Nashville, stealing $4,000 in merchandise from Sephora, stealing about $5,000 from Sephora at Opry Mills Mall on July 4th of 2024, more from Sephora, stealing $1,985 in merchandise from Gus Mayer at the Green Hills Mall. More from Sephora. Apparently, this person really likes Sephora. More from Sephora at Opry Mills. I went back to Opry Mills a bunch of times. The charges against Mays add up to 15 felony and 3 misdemeanor counts of either organized retail crime or theft, being held on a $115,000 bond. You gotta arrest these people, and you gotta keep them in jail. Prosecute them, put them away. Davidson County, it always seems very reluctant to do something like that. Had this big shootout at Green Hills. Met Police identified one of the suspects as a convicted felon, Omari Moore. Police say one of the other suspects is dead after a scuffle during a robbery. So that, again, we have a real problem with that stuff. Here's fentanyl seized during a stolen truck investigation in South Nashville. An investigation into a stolen vehicle led to the discovery of a large amount of fentanyl and other drugs Tuesday, South Nashville, according to Metro Police. They're patrolling near Harding Pike and Antioch Pike, checked the tag number of a black Ford F-150, matched the description of a truck that was stolen. The inspection reportedly showed the tags did not match the vehicle. Officers conducted a traffic stop on the Ford in the 3000 block of Mimosa Drive. They got out to speak with the detectives, noticed a baggie containing white powder in the center console. Detained. They did a search on the vehicle, found several bags of narcotics, drug paraphernalia, 511 grams of fentanyl. Where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? So, Davidson County, you need to get serious about crime. You need to get serious about, because it's not just you. When you fail to do something, you push a lot of that crime into other jurisdictions. And I don't understand what the problem is. The police want it. The police, this is a universally used technology now in every major metropolitan area in the country. And Davidson County needs to get on board with this. Get your license plate readers up. We talked about it. We did a pilot project. Police liked it. It worked. It brought down crime in certain categories when it was being tested. And now all of a sudden we can't seem to get it up and running in Davidson County. And what that means is all the other counties surrounding Davidson County, like Wilson County and others, are picking up a lot of Davidson County's trash and having to deal with it. 50 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock.
The lone suspect in that deadly Ohio shooting has been found and arrested. Details on this and other top stories coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Past the hour, that is Ken Weaver in the newsroom, Mason Fleming in the control room, and I am Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Hand on the Chris Hand Show all the way until noon. Then Chad Benson comes in. So we got a little time left here. I do have a little more clarity on what it is that the White House is going to be doing today, signing an executive order. And this one apparently will be about banning men, biological males, from participating in female sports. If there was ever low-hanging fruit with the American people, quite frankly, this one's pretty much I knew this was going to be a big issue in the campaign. Because I know soccer moms. I was a soccer mom, or I was a soccer dad, I suppose, and so I hung out with a lot of them, and I just know that there is a general sense, no matter what your politics are, that you don't want your daughter out there on a playing field with a biological male who is quicker, faster, stronger, and bigger in most every way, competing against your daughter. You want a level playing field, right? People in America love fairness, and it seems a little unfair to put men on the field of athletic play with women. And you know what? The vast majority of Americans agree. Are you ready for this? It's hard to get Americans to agree on anything. But 79% of all Americans are against the idea of people who were born biological males playing against women in the field of athletic play. 79% total. Even 2/3 of Democrats think that's a dumb idea. 94% of Republicans believe that is a dumb idea. And it is a dumb idea. And again, I just don't understand. Again, I'm glad that they're in disarray. I'm glad they're discombobulated. I'm glad they don't have a clue, but they don't. Democrats don't seem to have a clue because they're going to scream and they're going to holler and they're going to moan and they're going to groan. And the American people say, you are completely out of touch with where I am. They haven't learned a thing, which is shocking. Because, you can say what you want to about Democrats, but they're generally not stupid. Some of their policies are pretty dumb, but they are pretty effective in getting things done. And this one is just dumb. Why would you continue to go down that path when 79% of people in America think that's a stupid idea? But yet they are. So it looks like we're going to be having that as our major thing today, and the Democrats will scream and holler and grind their teeth. They'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth. It's not going to do any good because the American people understand that this is what President Trump said he was going to do. Again, what a concept. It's, it would seem to me not all that difficult. You come in, you get the election, you do the things that you say you're going to do. How exciting is that? Well, we got one more hour of the Chris Hand Show coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in Gaza and other stuff. So stick around, everybody. It is now time for the news at 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking the potential for severe weather today. During the full forecast, in 5 minutes, we'll give you the details on that. Right now, the details from Ohio. The lone suspect in that deadly shooting in a manufacturing facility found and arrested. Here's Jim Ryan.
Around 150 workers were inside KDC 1 Cosmetics in suburban Columbus last night when, without apparent provocation, one of them pulled a gun and opened fire on coworkers. Police say that someone was Bruce Reginald Foster III. One person died, 5 were wounded before Foster left the building. Almost 12 hours later, police served a warrant on a home in Columbus. They found found and arrested Foster without incident. He's to be charged with aggravated murder.
Police say they don't know the motive behind Sweden's worst ever mass shooting that left at least 11 people dead yesterday at an adult education center west of Stockholm. Police say there was a lot to indicate that the gunman had shot himself. They found him dead when police reached him. Police raided the suspect's home afterward, but they did not immediately say what they found. The full writings of the Covenant school shooter here in Tennessee may soon be released. It comes after the Tennessee Star sued the FBI to release its copy of the writings. WSMV Channel 4's Amanda Harrer reports on a new development.
Now, the Star says it got a letter from the Department of Justice saying that the DOJ is considering an offer to release all the writings that the FBI has. Police recovered about 20 journals, 2 memoirs, and a suicide note.
Some of the pages have already been leaked to the media. An update to the 5 teenagers who drove a car through the window of a gun store in Franklin last month. The Tennessee Star reporting all 5 are in the country illegally from Honduras. They range in age from 13 to 15. They've been living in Nashville. The Tennessee Star says all 5 teens are scheduled to be deported by federal immigration authorities. And another judge has struck down President Trump's executive order that would end birthright citizenship. Judge Deborah Boardman in Maryland heard a case from 5 pregnant women who sued the administration, who say their children will be in legal limbo if they are not guaranteed citizenship. Judge Boardman issued a nationwide injunction on the executive order, following a temporary injunction by a federal judge in Seattle, who said birthright citizenship is explicitly guaranteed in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The Trump administration has signaled they're going to fight any injunction.
This is established law. So within the legal community, it's really audacious to be taking a strike at the heart of the plain language of the Constitution and Supreme Court precedent. So if the court goes along with Donald Trump, it really upsets the stability of our constitutional system itself. The stakes really couldn't be higher beyond just the 14th Amendment here.
That is ABC News legal correspondent Kim Whaley. And the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.